So today I want to take a look at dollar Swiss and its technical outlook. Reason being, really like the idea of being a seller of the Swiss franc right now, and I'm going to show you sort of some reasons why I think that could be the case. Now, again, as always, we break it down with fundamentals, strength and weakness analysis, and then our conditions. So let's go on to the news then. What have we got to worry about this week in terms of the US dollar? Well, we've got US core CPI on Wednesday. I think this is going to be a big talking point in the markets. Obviously, are the Fed going to cut rates? If they do, how often are they going to cut rates? You know, how many times this year? That's all the questions that we're starting to hear at the moment globally. And some actual hedge funds are actually thinking that the Fed won't cut rates, and I think it's going to depend now on the CPI data. Obviously, NFP came in and was above expectations, but that hasn't steered the Fed away from the inflation data at the moment. So if inflation increases, I think then the idea of cuts really starts to kind of become of interest, and if they are, or how many, essentially. If we see a miss to the downside, I think it plays well into the Fed's hands, and the dollar could potentially weaken off the back of that. So really speaking, for me, I want to see a bit of an increase in inflation. We also have FOMC meeting minutes. This could be fairly bullish if there's anything in here that kind of dictates the fact that they are sort of keeping to the sort of data at the moment. And if the data remains hot, then great. On the Swiss side of things, Swiss National Bank have cut interest rates. It says it was a surprise cut. You could argue the fact that it wasn't a surprise cut. They're well within target range inflation in Switzerland, around 1.8%. So the Swiss National Bank doing a great job of bringing that inflation rate down, and they have took the plunge again early. So they were actually one of the first banks to hike interest rates. Now they've cut rates. So what they have a problem with at the moment is the price of exports is very expensive at the moment. So they feel like the Swiss franc at the minute is overvalued. So that gives us an opportunity to be a seller of the Swiss franc. From a strength and weakness point of view, I'm using my currency strength meter today. We can see that the Swiss franc is -7, the weakest currency, US dollar, the strongest at the moment. Let's go break down the conditions then. We'll jump over to a chart and have a little look at those key areas of interest. So I'm on dollar Swiss here. I've actually got 3 charts here. You can see I've actually got the weekly time frame here, I've got the 4-hour time frame down here, and I've got the 15-minute here. The reason why I'm looking at the 15-minute at the moment is because I'm eyeing up this 0.9050 area as an opportunity at the moment, so I'm just keeping an eye on that. But essentially, I've got this weekly chart. This weekly chart, very bullish at the moment. Obviously, last week we had a little bit of downside. Price came into resistance towards the 0.9090. So we could be on the edge of seeing a retracement here, okay? Because the market's not going to go in a straight line. You know, we're going to have a period of consolidation before a potential continuation if it does happen. So in theory, this could be the place that the market does do that, because we've got resistance to the left and this high. So we have to take into consideration the fact that this could be the point where we do see a little bit of a pullback. However, we're not to know that. And the only thing that's going to keep me from sort of necessarily being bearish is the fact that the 4-hour time frame is finding support at the 0.9 handle, and we're above a 50 MA, which is telling me that the momentum is still to the upside right now. If we were to start breaking lower, coming down to the 0.9 and then breaching 0.9, this is where my bias has to shift at that point. I feel like at that point, I don't really necessarily want to be looking at longs right this minute. I want to wait for price to come to the higher time frame area of previous sort of resistance turn support. Okay, so that's why I've got these kind of 3 screens here. Now I'm interested in a potential long position down here because I can see that the market's formed a recent low at that point, and if the market forms a recent low and rallies, I want to see if price comes back to it. I want to see if buyers are interested in price again. So essentially what I'm looking for right now is, can price come back down towards this level here? So if I just highlight it with a rectangle, if price comes down to here, can it find support? Can it start driving back to the upside and start heading back towards this key zero spot 9090, or even up to the zero spot 91 handle would be ideal. Obviously, looking at sort of first targets, if I was going to look at anything here, obviously the market has formed a high here, so that's going to need to be sort of the first area of resistance that we need to target, and then we have a secondary area up here as well. So these would be areas where essentially I would look to take something off the table. So if price came into this level here, it gave me my conditions to get long in terms of lower time frame changes of trend, then I'd be looking for ideas up to this point. TP1, I'd execute some profits off the table. TP2, execute some profits off the table, and then just leave a runner. If it goes, it goes, great. If it doesn't and it comes back on me, you know, I'm out the position at that point. But that's what I'm looking at here on dollar Swiss. I like the idea of being sort of a seller of the Swiss franc. Dollar is the strongest currency at the moment. We are seeing a little bit of a weakness return to the dollar, which isn't great for this particular market. So you may want to look elsewhere. Perhaps Aussie Swiss could be somewhere where you try and identify that as well. I can see we've got a beautiful upward trend forming here on Aussie Swiss. Again, I'll just be looking at where's that recent low come in, where's that sort of buy momentum come in. Can I try and capitalize in any kind of pullbacks there? I can see that we're approaching a bit of a 4-hour high in here as well, so we may want to have a little look at this area as a potential area for overall targets on a 15-minute time frame. If I just sink this into the layout, that's in this area here. So again, if we get that little bit of a pullback down through to this point, does the market begin to find buyers again? Does it trend back to the upside here? Weekly chart looking very bullish as well. So that's something to consider. But for me, I like the outlook on dollar Swiss. Could potentially give us an opportunity in line with the Swiss franc weakness. And that's something I'm going to be taking a look at going into this trading week. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button. Catch you in the next video.